Marhaban, first of all, or assalamu alaikum as well. And hello, everybody. This panel today is about time and creativity. And as you could see, we had to be kind of creative. And we are a bit late, which has to do with time now. My name is Irene Hediger, and I will be the moderator of today's panel, and also trying to be the timekeeper here. Just a few words to myself. I consider myself one of the very lucky people or persons because I'm actually working with what maybe in the world is considered the creatives. I'm working with artists and scientists, and I'm providing them with time and space to work together and to come up with creative ideas, share ideas, and also explore new territories and also share methodologies. So that's my background, and we are here as well because KAUST, and I'm the head of Artists in Labs program, KAUST and Artists in Labs program, we have a collaboration project where artists are coming to Switzerland, working with scientists, and an artist is coming here to KAUST and work with scientists. But we will hear a bit more from one of the artists that is on a panel and has been working with KAUST scientists. So let me introduce you to the panel. I'm really happy to introduce you first to Nasser Al-Salem. He is a calligrapher and also an architect. He's a very acclaimed artist here in Saudi Arabia, but also around the world. And you will hear that he's working with concepts of time. And yes, I think that's all. You will want to introduce yourself later as well. Then we have Balkis. She is from Academic Affairs at KAUST, and she is a digital content designer as well. And today she will be translating Nasser's thoughts because he will be mainly speaking in Arabic. The next one is Nadia Suvorova. She is a Zurich-based artist, Zurich in Switzerland. And she has been spending time here at KAUST with computer scientists, and she will also be talking about that. She is an interactive media artist and also working with concepts, or part of her work is also like on time. And then at the far end, or not so far end, we have Todd Albert Nims. He is a Saudi-born American producer. And he's also heavily involved in the Gulf region cinema and entertainment development. He's producing feature films as well. There will be two films coming out in 2019, or they have already been, they're going to come out in the cinema in 2019. He will be talking about that shortly as well. So without further ado, I leave the floor to Nadia first to introduce what she's doing in her time.
Okay, perfect. Should I sit here? Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. My name is Nadia Suvorova, and I'm an interactive media artist based in Switzerland, as Irene just introduced me. I will just briefly show you some of my projects. Let me start with a project called Oko. Oko, it's a puzzle game for mobile devices. And in this game, you should reconstruct the image by turning, rotating circles, and stopping. You should stop the rotating circles at the right moment in order to reconstruct the picture, the satellite picture, and see the place where this picture was taken. So you can also try this game now. It's at the exhibit at the library. So feel free to go there and try it out. You can also download it on the app stores. So I really work with the playful media and using different media to express my ideas about interaction. And the next project I would like to show called MICMA. MICMA is an exploration game where you as a player can explore the different scales of the universe, starting from the real scale, going towards the small scales like seeing little particles, atomic particles, and going deeper until you reach the 0 points of space. To show you how it works, let me show you the trailer. The whole game working using the different sensors embedded in mobile device. Let's go to the next project. The next project called Revolution. To give you the context of this project, I've been asked by the Design Days in Paris to work on the subject of the revolution for duration during the Festival of Design in Paris. And I decided to treat the topic of the revolution like a revolution of the different planets around the Earth. So the revolution of, so I approached the people from the Observatory of Paris, and we were working together to collect the data for the duration of the festival and see where the different planets are and how the different planets are moving during 1 week. After I collected all the data, I made some visualizations and started to compare them from one planet to another. As a final result, we made the Windows displays where we showed all the different data related to the revolution of each planet. Let me just quickly show you the different posters and that I made for the Windows displays. And finally, this past 3 months, I made my residency here at KAUST, working at with scientists from VCC on a new project, which you can see at the library during the WEP. And I really kindly invite you to go and have a look at some research and experiments I've done during this 3 months residency. Thank you very much.
And then we have Nasser to present his work.
السلام عليكم. شكرا انكم حاضرين هذه المحاضرة. حتكلم في كم عمل عن كيف تعاملت مع الخط العربي وكيف علاقتي تماما انه لما تعلمت الخط وكيف قدرت اتفاعل معه.
Nasser will tell you about his calligraphy and how Nasser will tell you about his calligraphy and how he deals with Arabic fonts, different types of fonts.
بداية هذا العمل اسمه تاريخ الكعبة. هو بيتكلم عن الفترة اللي تبنت فيها الكعبة وعن التاريخ المستقبلي الأقوال اللي حتصير تتكلم عن الكعبة ولكن احنا جزء منا ما حضرنا هذا الوقت، لكن هو وقت مستقبلي حيكون.
So in this piece of art, he's speaking about Kaaba. That small black square is Kaaba. And that's actually where he's from. He grew up in Mecca, and this piece of art is very related to where he comes from. He's talking about the evolution of Kaaba in this piece of art and how it started from time before our time and how it will continue after our time.
وهذا العمل اسمه زمزم. هو هو ماء موجود في الحرم المكي. وكيف هذا الماء اللي يخرج من البير ما حد يعرف قديش هو تاريخه.
So this piece of art is called Zamzam. In the calligraphy, you can see the word Zamzam. In the middle, you can see the 8-star, always showing in the Islamic art. It's also the 8-pointed star.
وكمان نفس الشيء تشوف الانفينيتي.
He also has the shape of infinity because this water, Zamzam, represents water well in Mecca. And this is to represent how this water has been there for thousands of years and is still flowing until today and the future probably.
هذا العمل اسمه كل. هو كلمة كل بالعربي هي كلمة تقدر تحدد فيها كل الأشياء اللي أنت تعرفها أو حتى ما تعرفها.
This word, it's an Arabic word, and it's pronounced kul, which means all. And he starts with this, with very small font, and then he keeps growing, representing a holistic view of the world. So we start with small stuff like atoms and things we know, then things we don't know. And that's why some parts of the last pieces of this word is not visible because they are unknown to us.
وهي فكرة كل هي تساؤل عن فكرة الحجم.
It is a question of size.
هذا العمل بيتكلم عن الآيات اللي تتكلم عن الدوران من فكرة الذرة إلى فكرة النجوم.
This piece of art talks about all kinds of cycles in life. So it starts at the level of atom. The smallest one talks about atom. Do you want to mention بدك تحكي عن الآية؟
هي الآية الأولى ولا أصغر من ذلك ولا أكبر.
So it has recitations of Quran. The first one is about atom and it's ولا أصغر من هذا ولا أكبر.
والنص الثاني هدى العالمين المقصود فيه الطواف.
The second circle or cycle is representing tawaf. It's circling the Kaaba when we perform Umrah or Hajj.
والثالث بيتكلم عن دوران الأرض.
The third cycle talks about the rotation of Earth.
وبعدين القمر.
And then the cycles of the moon.
والشمس.
And rotation of the sun.
وكلهم في فلك يسبحون.
And then all the galaxy. And
والنجوم.
all
وزينة
the
سماء
stars.
الدنيا ومصابيح.
Yes. Okay.
بعدين هذا العمل هذا الخط تحديدا هو أول خط بدأ فيه الخط العربي، وهو الخط اللي هو حتى ما كان فيه النقاط.
Yes. This type of font, so the previous pieces of art were all using a font called thuluth. That's an Arabic calligraphy font. And this one is from the very ancient font called Kufi Masahif or Kufi Quran. This type of font does not have no dots. So some Arabic letters have dots on them, like the I. This one doesn't. So
مكتوب ماذا لو اختفت الدائرة.
So the piece of art is called What If the Circle in all its forms disappeared? And he means spheres, he means circuits, he means circles of all sorts.
هذا العمل نيون هو بيتكلم أكثر عن جزء من ثقافتنا اللي حاصلة دحين في فكرة إنه عربي غربي، فهو العمل من غير النقطة عربي ولما يصير في النقطة يصير غربي، فهو نفس العمل واحد.
This piece of art talks about it's an Arabic word. It's written in Arabic, but it's Arabi Gharbi, and that is the name of the word. That is the pronunciation of the word. And the only difference between the two of them is the dot on top of the ain in Arabic, and that dot makes the word mean west, and the first one means Arab. So he is just showing how we are blended and connected through culture and through being human and through other types of, connections between East and West, or Arabs and then Arabs and, people from different places of the world.
هذا العمل اللي جالسين نشتغل عليه في الوقت الحالي للإقامة الفنية اللي حتكون في سويسرا ارتسان لاب. وبحاول اشتغل مع معمل او مصنع بيشتغل في تاريخ الساعات، والعمل كله بيتكلم عن آيات في فكرة الحركة من فكرة السماوات إلى فكرة الإنسان وكيف علاقته بالطبيعة.
So this piece of art is still a project phase. It's part of Nasser's future work in Artists in Lab in Zurich. He's going to go there and work with watch factories, and all the written text there references time, right?
Yes.
References time.
وهذا واحد من المشاريع اللي بنشتغل عليها كمعرض شخصي حاليا. كلمة أما بعد، كلمة أما بعد باللغة العربية ليها أكثر من معنى، وهي ككلمة كيف هي لها صور مختلفة عن حدث واحد.
Okay, so this is another exhibition for Nasser. It's going to be in London, and the exhibition is named Amma Ba'd. He has 2 art pieces. This is the first one of them. And it is the Arabic text Amma Ba'd, which means certain one of the translations is moreover. And normally when we write letters, and this is his words from before.
هو العمل بيتكلم عن اللغة والفضاء والزمن.
Yeah, so it talks about time, space, and language.
والعمل الثاني اللي هو هذا في شيء باللغة العربية ممكن تعرفوا ممكن اسمه المجولة. هو كيف قديما كانوا يحسبوا الوقت، فهو كيف بيتفاعل الضوء. فهذا العمل هو نفس الشيء مكتوب فيه أما بعد، بس هيكون عمل خارجي. هو فكرته كيف يقدر يكون شيء أو عمل هو داخل الزمن يصنع الزمن.
Yes. So this is an ancient tool to measure time, and it's called mijwala in Arabic. It's just a stick that you can put outside, and it's an interactive piece of art for Nasser because it's showing time and interacting with the world. So when the sun rotates, the shadow would change. The shadow of that stick would change. And then this is interactive from the philosophy of this piece.
شكرا.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nasser. And just to add something, Nasser will be working with watchmakers, but also at the ETH to work with material scientists. So that will be very interesting match. And now, last but not least, Todd, your turn to talk about your practice.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm very honored to be here with everyone on this panel. They're very esteemed artists. I know about your work before, and it's very nice to see what you've done. And we've met, of course, last year, so it's nice to see you. And I'm happy to be here with the audience, too. I'm imagining you're all here because you're interested in art and time. I'm going to show you a couple trailers. Both of them actually, in somewhat ways, deal with movies that actually deal with time. The first one being for Jude. That was a movie I actually premiered. These are both coming out in cinemas this year. But we did a premiere for it here, kind of a private premiere at CAUS last year. And it's interesting, its relation to time. I've always been interested in time, the subjectivity of time. Before you had the way we measure time now, time was more of an occurrence. It was related to events. It was, let's meet when the sun sets, or 5 moons from now, or it was all related to event-based, and it was a very experiential. And this first film, I'm going to show you a trailer of. It's meant to mess with your sense of time in a certain respect. It's pretty big. It's the life cycle, an inverted life cycle goes from death to birth, but there are no words in the film. And if you have the opportunity to watch it when it comes out in February here in the new cinemas that will be opening, I hope you find that it's more of almost a meditative experience, because it's asking you in a way to look below the surface of everyday experience and see how life gives even when you feel like it's taking away. So I'm going to roll this trailer, and I just want to say right before we roll it is that it's based off of pre-Islamic poetry. As you know, poetry is a form of storytelling here in the region, and if you study ancient poems, the Qasidas, 7 of which are written on the Kaaba, actually, they all have a similar structure, and the structure, you could say, matches the inversion of a life cycle somewhat, we believe at least, because it's sort of memories and then kind of your journey, and then it ends with sort of on a note that is somewhat life-giving, which is kind of the inverse of life. So could we go ahead and play the first trailer, please? Thank you. And then thank you. Thank you. It's very kind. And the second one I'm going to show you is a period piece, not unlike the King's Speech in the sense of it's actually the same time period. It takes place in 1919. So this is more of a historical view of time. It is it's called Born a King. It's actually I'm going to be doing a talk on this on Wednesday at 3:30. You're welcome at the cinema. And I'm going to show you the same clips because I figure not everyone's going to make it, although there will be additional behind-the-scenes clips I show there. So don't feel you can miss the Wednesday if you guys see this. Just to give you a little bit of background before we watch the trailer, the movie takes place in 1919, as I already said. It is about a young Faisal, who is a prince at the time, and he's being sent away by his father, King Abdulaziz, to England on a diplomatic mission in which the fate of Arabia hung in the balance. Lawrence of Arabia was actually working with the Hussein of the Hashemites, who was about to be declared king of the Arabs. And basically the Lawrence of Arabia for here, which was John Philby, wanted to kind of get Abdulaziz and the family to England before this happened, before the treaty, the Paris Accords. Peace Accords, and basically Philby tried to get Abdulaziz to come, and he said, no, my enemies would take me. So he said, give me your oldest son, Saud. He said, no, he's heading my army, take Faisal. Faisal's 13, and Philby was very upset. But it worked out very well because Faisal ended up being able to hold himself well, and the press was kind of taken with him. And although he did not have a meeting set up for the king when he arrived, by going around the kingdom and kind of going everywhere and getting seen in the papers all the time, they were eventually able to get the audience. But, however, there was more to be done at that time. So I'll let you guys watch the trailer and, hopefully see the movie when it comes out later this year. Next track.
The British government requests that you postpone your plans to conquer Mecca. and return to Riyadh.
This might just be a game to you, but lives are at stake here. If we don't support Al Saud, there'll be a war across Arabia.
This is no game for me, I can assure you.
No man commands more respect across Arabia. Abdulaziz Al Saud.
The people of England know nothing of the virtues of this land or the Ibn Saud family. Lawrence has made your enemies famous. I want to put the name of Ibn Saud on the lips of every Englishman. I think the time has come for you to come to England.
Faisal.
Faisal?
Faisal's my son. He's a man of it.
Prince Faisal ibn Abdulaziz Al Saud, Ahmed ibn Thunayan, and Mr. Sinjan Philby, Your Majesty.
In my country, the decisions are made by the king.
Here it's Lord Kazim.
Lord Curzon, it's a great honor to meet you.
No, no, no. The honor is mine, Prince Faisal.
He picked up a scent.
Your Highness, we must leave. Your father needs you at his side.
If you go, it will destroy your father's relationship with Great Britain.
My father respects all Muslims and his allies and can be trusted to keep his word. But he will not stand by while his land is being invaded. He will fight back. Right now, he is gathering a great army. My father warned me that diplomacy is more bitter than battle. The decision is mine.
Thank you. I saw a few people doing social media. Please, especially you over there, I saw you. Do not send that out. This is actually the first time anyone's seen any clips. There was some clips leaked before, and please do me a favor and don't put this on social media because it'll get me and everybody in trouble, especially here as well. So if you don't mind, please don't. This is actually a very, you guys are the first ones who've seen some clips that have been, and there will be more on Wednesday. But we haven't officially made the announcements for this being released or anything like that. So this is just for you as a Kaust audience. So please do that. Okay, so thank you.
Important. Thank you. Yeah, there is a time for everything. Release is release, and everything before is part of the process. And speaking about process, I want to ask you like a first more personal or very subjective question. And this is about your creative process. If we are looking at time like of a day or, that day, let's take the day. When is actually, or do you feel is your most creative time to create ideas, to come up with ideas? Do you have did you observe a certain rhythm of when? Nasser, maybe, first?
Okay.
I'm not sure if this is working. I have the secondary one. So at a certain time of day يعني في أي جزء من أجزاء اليوم بتحس نفسك أكثر إبداعاً؟
يعني بصراحة أكثر وقت انسجم فيه يعني الوقت اللي في الليل أحس إنه هو وقت مرة مريح للعقل إنه هو يقدر يتفاعل أو يقدر يركز في عمل فني أو في بحث يشتغل عليه.
Okay. So Nasser is saying that he finds his peace and clearer mind at night, and he can be more creative at night.
حس هو وقت مرة دماغه يكون مرتاح لأنت كيف تقدر تطور في شغلك أو تقرأ من طريقة مختلفة.
Yeah, so he feels that at night he can see his work from another perspective or like different aspects, and this helps him become more creative.
Yeah.
Nadia?
Me, I think I'm start to be more productive in the afternoon toward the evening when I already done something like from the morning toward the evening, afternoon. And I really like to have this also kind of I think my ideas just jump much faster. I have like kind of a conversation ping pong I have lots of impressions from the day, which I can calmly explore and work on during the evening. I think I'm pretty much evening person, but not late night, I would say.
Mm. I find that I don't. I sort of go in waves. I get inspired, or I don't. A lot of it depends on. I like to interact with people or go places to get inspiration. Time of the day, I don't know if that's a thing for me, because sometimes I'll be in the morning, sometimes it'll be at night. So I don't have a set time that I. But what I do is when I'm struck with something, I immediately write on it or work on it from there. At least the basic thing. If I don't have time to develop it, then I wait. And then usually when I develop, I will either do it in the morning or I usually don't do it in the middle of the day. I usually do early morning or in the evening.
Right. Now, I think you have very different ways of how you do art, you produce. You probably work a lot in teams as well, which is another process. So what do you think, I mean, like, there is always this time of concept, coming up with an idea, and then develop your concept, and then there's the production part. So those are probably like cycles of, life cycles of producing art. So in terms of time, maybe starting with you, like having a film, a major film, feature film like this, how long does it take to develop? And maybe also say something about the kind of different periods and what you do there.
Both of those films took 3 years to finish, from start to finish. Whenever you work on something, I think that's very large, and there's always a big period of development for movies that are going to go to cinema. They can be writing for years, but these particular ones, you spend a lot of time making sure that the script and the story is correct. But those were two different films. I mean, Jude, we had to develop the general concept, and then we went out all over the kingdom and looked at all the different, found out what was there in a way, and came up with stories, and then came back and saw again how they could all go together. So it was like a organic process. With something like Born a King, the script and everything's developed pretty fully first, and then when you bring on the director and the actors, you start to develop it further with them. I produced this with Andres Vincent-Gomez, who's an Oscar-winning producer, and he was very helpful in that whole process because he's done it so many times. I would say the time, what happens is once you get that set and then you start committing to making the thing, that's when time becomes very not as elastic, because you're having to stick to a schedule, and every day you're actually shooting, you've got so many people there from so many different places that can only be there so long, and every day you're spending money, and so there is a restraint on your time. Your time becomes very focused, and because it has to be coordinated amongst these people, and for us to do something in another time, in another space, would be a huge, sometimes it's just not possible. There's no resources. So you have to then start measuring your time very carefully until you get through that part of the process. And then you have the ability to edit, which becomes a little more elastic because it's much easier to spend a little more time in the editing room than, because it's the editor and the director. Right? And sometimes, so you can have more time. Even that, though, there's a limit. So you have to, I think, in filmmaking, a lot of it relates to resources and use thereof, and also who else needs to get in the room? Some of these actors, they can't act another time, or that's it. You've got them for that 3 weeks and 2 weeks, whatever it is, and you're done. Same with the director. So even if you want them, again, even if you have the money, sometimes you can't do it. So you have to work within your constraints, and I feel like it's that with any art. You always have to work within what you're given, you know, the lines with which you work. So they determine your time, I think.
Maybe this question also to Nasser. You have a very different type of work. So how do you develop and, you know, like research, coming up with the idea, research, and then actually producing?
بالنسبة لدائرة الوقت، بالنسبة لفكرتك، أي فكرة بدك ترجمها لعمل فني، كم تحتاج من الوقت لصنع القطعة الفنية، من فكرة إلى عمل إبداعي إلى قطعة فنية؟
يعني ابدا صعب انك تحدد اذا هو في وقت معين. من جد هو كل عمل في اعمال ممكن تشتغل عليها لمده سنتين وممكن لسه تحتاج لها وقت اكثر، لانه يعني على سبيل المثال بنشتغل في هذا الوقت في عمل فني حيكون في مستشفى. عشان طريقه انه احنا نشتغل داخل مستشفى هذه قبلها هو في شروط مره كثيره لطريقه التركيب، فهذه الاشياء مره تاخذ وقت. وبعد الوقت يكون عندك عمل على ورق او على ماتيريال تقدر تشتغل عليه بشكل بسيط، فيكون وقت اقل. دائما في شغلي احب اجرب مواد دائما جديده، اول مره اكون بجربها بس هي مقابل تخدم عملي اكثر.
Nasser is saying it's hard to determine an exact time for each piece of art. Some pieces of art could take up to 2 years, depending on the material and the atmosphere or where they take place. For example, he had to work with a hospital once, and for that there was many requirements that would not be if he had to work on his own or on paper. And he is saying sometimes he tries to experiment with new materials. So it's really hard to put an exact timeline because it's creative work, I'm assuming. That's my words. But the answer is it's really hard to define a timeline.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nadia, maybe in
I
terms
think
of
I have a similar approach to Nasser's, that for me it's also quite hard to estimate how long will take the development of the whole project, because there is this time of developing the idea and to refine this idea in terms of like how clear it is. And I also in my work have a perspective to the people who will use or interact with the artwork. So for me it's even like sometimes take even longer to learn from people, to observe people, how they interact with the artwork, how they take this idea, is it clear enough, or I have a lot of this back and forth from the, let's say, user, the people who interact with the artwork and the artwork itself. So yeah, sometimes it could take years. Sometimes it could take a couple of months or even days. It really depends on the size of the project and the context as well, yeah.
Okay. I just was watching my clock and we are already running out of time, unfortunately. But I would really love to have maybe 1 or 2 questions from the audience. So I will stop asking questions, and if you have a question to the artists, to any of the artists, please welcome to ask. Yes? Over there, okay.
Hi. Thank you for session. And you know, when it is told not about art, but about, for example, entrepreneurship or startups, it's always told that there can be a wrong and right time to reveal a technology. Some startups died just because of the wrong time of presenting some device or program. And here the question, can it be possible to have a wrong time to present a piece of art?
I think definitely yes.
Can you make an example?
Like this, I don't really have an example in mind, but I think like some, for example, like, okay, example, if the work was developed or is not finished yet sometimes, it's presented in a context which could be not, which doesn't match to the idea actually, and or to present in the wrong place, in the wrong conditions, and so on. So it's, yeah, or the idea is not finished yet. and shown too early, it's definitely could really influence the perception of the artwork. But in terms of, it's a different relationship, not the same like technology, which I developed too early or too late. But in my opinion, there's something to do about the context and the general presentation of the artwork. I don't know what you think.
No, I would think, I mean, we have a great example with, I'll give you an example. There's not enough cinema screens right now in Saudi to present. We've had Jude for, like, why would you present in a country the movie if there's not people that can see it? In Jeddah, for instance, there's no cinema screens right here. So, bad time to present the art. You know? So that's a pretty simple example, but there's even things that you might, there are forces in the world that are beyond your control that might make it not appropriate for whatever piece of artwork because of something, the way things are being perceived. You know, because if you're telling a story from a certain area and there's political seeds going one way or the other that have nothing to do with your story, but people will and then incorporate it in that greater context, it might be a bad time. You might have to wait, or you might, or maybe you've released something, but then there's something else that happens political that people make it something political. Maybe it's not even something political. It's something you're trying to say about something else. So I think timing can have a huge effect. It can also have the effect of how many people get to actually appreciate what you're doing or what you're not. Like, I don't know if you, like I think Gillette just released this commercial, I guess, on men and, you know, the Me Too kind of movement thing. And they timed that because they know the Me Too movement's something. If they'd waited a long time, a couple of years from now and done it, probably wouldn't get the buzz. So I think timing is definitely, and it depends on what you want for your art. I mean, are you trying to make it commercially successful? Are you trying to make just people see it? Are you trying to make an impact? Where are you trying to make an impact? So all those things, I think you have to think about that with what you want to see happen with your art. You know, some people, they just want to affect their classmates, and that's it. So you figure out what the best time is for them to see it. Might not be at 5 a.m. in the morning when everyone's asleep, you know, to do a big present. So, you know, obviously time has a thing to do with it. When, where, how.
Nasser, would you like to?
أتوقع إنه ما دام أنت قدرت تقدم عمل فني فيعني هذا وقت حيكون كويس مثلا. بس ممكن تكتشف إنه عمل فني ما قدمته في الوقت الصح بس ما تكتشفه في نفس الوقت تكتشفه بعد فترة ممكن متقدمة. وهذا الشيء أتوقع يصير لكل أحد جرب فيديو أو فيلم أو عمل فني يعني تحديدا.
Nasser is saying that it is always good to produce art, but sometimes you discover after the fact that the production of this art at this certain time period was incorrect, or maybe it could have had more impact if it was at another time. But he thinks it's normally after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
That you realize. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there another
Thank
question?
you.
I think we can take one more. Yes?
Okay, so I have a question related to the movie about life.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is that how do you as artists approach life? I think it might be a little bit different than scientists do.
Oh, okay. Okay.
What the life means for you and how do you approach it? What's your attitude?
Okay, so that's an interesting question. I think while I think to say that I do personally approach life differently, I think is a bit of, I would say an artist do. I do think, yes, you might say that an artist might be looking something through life through a certain lens because they are maybe creating, I mean, art is ultimately a communication. It ultimately is something that is going to communicate something to somebody, whether it's a particular or a wide audience. And but I think we all see life in our own way because we all incorporate life. We've all lived different experiences. No one's the same. There are things that are in common, but we've all lived a different life from each other. So I think the uniqueness, and even scientists, that's the beautiful thing. It might be your profession or maybe what you do in life, but it doesn't mean that I do think there are some basic things that if you put on the hat of a certain professions, you're forced to see the world through that lens, but it doesn't mean that's the only lens through which you see the world. For example, with science, I mean, at the basis of a scientist's worldview would be the idea of the scientific method, the idea of building truth and putting a brick in the wall of truth for all of humanity, which is why scientists, I believe, are heroes. I wish that would, something that needs to be, that's why we're teaching this course on cinematic science to help scientists tell their story, which needs to be told more and more. I really feel academia should serve humanity, and I would love to see if PhD students would have to start doing a film with their PhD thesis, because I feel like that would help communicate what they're doing to the rest of the world. On the flip side, you have, as let's say, artists, because we're in that realm here. An artist in general, your worldview, when you're putting on the artist hat, is to then look at the world through, I would say, cultural and macro and microeconomic aspects and how everything's linking together, and sort of putting something into the world that helps people link in a new way or see things, maybe the world differently and their place in it. And by making those changes or putting those things in there, you're getting some kind of movement. And usually it's a cultural type movement, but stimulate something in the soul, which is cultivate the soul, you could say. That's what the word culture comes from. It means to cultivate the soul. So, the roots of it, cultivate the soul. And I would say there's other things, though, too. But they're just a hat you wear in a profession. I mean, we all, I think, can put that hat on for an artist hat if you want, and a scientist. There's some people that are scientists and artists, and you can do it. So I don't feel like, I do think it's helpful, especially in this day and age, to put on as many different hats as you can. I try to study things in science and in philosophy and art, in marketing even, in business, in everything I can, even different weird areas of science that I don't think I'll and I try to keep myself informed on all these different things so I can have a very full picture and put on as many different lenses as I can in order to look through my life and my life differently, my experiences. And I'm sure you would get a lot out of that. Anyone would, so. Does that answer your question? Okay, great. Anyone else is free to answer?
Just a last question, and then we have to stop.
Oh, is this not working? Okay. So I was wondering, what steps do you guys take to achieve a better creative mindset?
So, who wants to answer? Nasser? what's ايش الخطوات اللي تتخذها لتدخل في مخك الإبداعي، يعني القدرة على صنع الإبداع؟ ايش الخطوات؟ في خطوات؟
يعني غالبا لما هو اصلا يكون في شيء في عقلك يلح عليك دائما طول الوقت ان انت تشتغل عليه، هو في الغالب هذا انا عن نفسي دائما بشتغل بهذه الطريقه، انه هو في شيء في عقلي بيجبرني او بيجلسني انه انا ادخل او اعمل ريسيرش على شغلي اكثر.
Nasser is saying that sometimes, most of the time, it is not a step thing. It is something in his mind that is persistent and asking him to work towards a certain thing, or like it's an idea that is driving his behavior toward a certain piece of art or creativity.
Mm-hmm.
Can you also answer that?
Yeah, I would say also the intuition is something that guides me, but I think I'm just in general a very curious person, and I like to learn something that I don't know anything about. And I think it makes me really curious, and I start to really dig into the questions. And in my opinion, it's what makes me curious and creative as well. Curiosity, yeah. I would define it this way.
I'm the same way. Actually, it's a combo. I kind of feel like there's ideas and they come and they bother me, and they sit there, and I actually kind of feel sometimes, and this is where you get into you call the muse, but I do feel like there's certain ideas and they want to be manifested, because sometimes you'll see them somewhere else in the world. Someone came and you said, "Oh, good, I don't have to do that one anymore," and it runs off. It's done, and I'm not inspired to do it anymore. But there are certain ideas that come up, and then I get curious. I dig and dig and dig, and then I say, that one really wants to happen. So then you start grabbing onto it. So I think it's a process. I think it's both. You both said how I feel. It's a good question.
So thank you very much, everybody, for the answers, and thank you for your questions. And I think we could go on for a longer time, but maybe another time we'll have a workshop. That would be really interesting. And also talk about your creative moments, because I think many times, even if we're under pressure, we get really creative, and that's what we did here, under pressure. No, but thank you very much, and have still a really nice afternoon at the WEP.